Several more Democrats are heading down to El Salvador in what I would say is plainly a violation of the Logan Act. But they're really hell-bent on defending this guy who is accused of beating his wife mercilessly and has got MS-13 gang tattoos on his hands, says the president. And, well, if that's the game they want to play, it's not going to turn out well. Why? Well, Van Hollen, the Maryland Democrat who flew down there, has changed his tune. Just yesterday saying, I'm not defending the guy, and going on to say I would be fine with him being deported. Whoa, 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 whoa. Hold on there, gosh darn minute. What do you mean you're okay with him being deported and you're not defending him? You literally defended him the whole time. You've called him a Maryland man. The media has said this relentlessly, and you flew down and took some gut-wrenching photos with an MS-13 gang member. Oh, boy. You see, for those of us that pay attention, it was painfully obvious that this guy is, well, he's gotten his due process. Two courts have said, two judges, actually, it's more than two judges, but two hearings, it was determined that he was an MS-13 gang member. He had an order for removal. It was a final order of deportation. Asylum was denied. Withholding of removal based on fear of torture was denied. But he was granted a withholding of of deportation. Deportation over his fears of death. So there is an argument about an administrative error, and that error is he was supposed to get a hearing with the USCIS to determine if the circumstances in his home country have changed. But the Democrats, instead of trying to, I guess, go full bore on a story about a paperwork mistake, have said this is a Maryland man illegally kidnapped and who is in this country legally. I got all the documents for you. Let's not play that game. The polls show it, my friends. They are regretting the decision they made. They are regretting it tremendously. That's why this dude is backing away. But several more Democrats are going down, and it's not going to play out well for them. Already, they're trying to do this Hegseth second signal story. They're saying, Signalgate 2.0. Oh, man, spare me, dude. Nobody cares about that. They've got nothing. And so the only thing they can put forward is misinformation, but the polls are not playing out. Majority of the people in this country support what Trump is doing, and that's why Van Hollen has backed off. I got the clip for you. I'll play it. My friends, shout out to Steven Crowder and the Mug Club for shouting us out. This is the Rumble Morning Lineup. This is your noon hour. I'm your host, Tim Pool. You can follow me on X and Instagram at TimCast. We've got an awesome sponsor for today's show. It is fastgrowingtrees.com/pool. Check it out. They got plants. Plants are cool. You want a fruit tree? I know I do. We're probably going to get some, I don't know what I'm thinking. Peaches? We probably need apples because we had apples the other place. But my friends, Fast Growing Trees is the biggest online nursery in the U.S. with thousands of different plants and over 2 million happy customers. They have all the plants your yard needs, like fruit trees, private trees, flowering trees, shrubs, and more. Fast Growing Trees makes it easy to get the yard of your dreams. Order online and get your plants delivered directly to your door in just a few days without ever leaving home. Their Alive and Thrive guarantee ensures your plants arrive happy and healthy. You don't have to drive around to nurseries and big garden centers and choose plants from limited assortment. Fast Growing Trees makes it easy to order online, and your plants are delivered to your door in just a few days. It's so difficult and annoying to shop for plants in person. I'm super busy, so I don't want to take up a whole Saturday shopping. I literally can't. And if you notice, I even worked this Saturday. So, if we don't even know what they're going to have when we show up. So we end up going to multiple locations. It's even more annoying to get your car all messy, bringing home new plants, just to see them die days later. Oof. Thankfully, their website has all the info you need to take care of your new plant. Their resource center has plenty of advice from their plant experts to help you learn more about your yard's needs. This spring, they get the best deals for your front yard, up to half off on select plants and other deals. Listeners to this show will get 15% off their first purchase when using the code POOL at checkout. That's an additional 15% off at fastgrowingtrees.com using code POOL. So guys, go do it. Fastgrowingtrees.com/pool. Now's the perfect time to plant. Use POOL to save today. Offer is valid for a limited time. Terms and conditions, in fact, do apply. We also got Cast Brew Coffee at castbrew.com. Guys, Appalachian Nights, it's the best. I went to a coffee shop the other day. I threw it out. I'm not kidding. I'm dead serious. I'm not trying to be a dick, but the coffee was just bad. And I'm asking my wife, I'm like, how come our coffee is good? I don't know how people do it bad, but they do. So go to Casper Buy Our Coffee. More importantly, the Culture War live events will be on May 3rd You want to come? We still got 9 tickets available. That's right. 60 seats, members only, and you as members can submit your view on the debate issue and then be invited up to debate on stage. And if you're bad, Alex Stein will yell at you. We're very excited. I was like, I can't be mean to people. Like, I can't do it. I mean, like, I shouldn't do it, and I don't want to do it. That's what I mean by can't. But Alex Stein has no problem insulting you. And I said, I think actually a lot of people might enjoy being insulted by Alex Stein. So he's the perfect guy. But we're going to be doing this live in the DC area. If you want to come, go to timcast.com, click join us, get in the Discord server. 9 seats still available. We want to see you there. More importantly, let's talk news. Take a look at this from ABC. Van Hollen. I am not defending the man. I am defending the rights of this man to due process. Senator says the Abrego Garcia case is about upholding the rule of law. Oh boy. Well, it's good news for you. I have due process right here. His document filed March 24th, 2025, page 1 of 14, United States Department of Justice, Executive Office for Immigration Review, United States Immigration Court, Baltimore, Maryland. What is this? In the matter of Kilmar Armando Abrego Garcia and in removal proceedings. Heavens me, it looks like this guy got his due process. Now, okay, hold on. What he's arguing is that he applied for asylum, withholding of removal, and protection against torture. And he did receive withholding of deportation. So there is an argument to be had that right now what really needs to happen is Trump needs to just have a USCIS interview with Abrego Garcia. So here's my pitch. Really? Van Hollen? You're just defending his due process rights? Well, he did get them. But to be fair, well, he was an illegal immigrant. He is found to be a member of MS-13, and the withholding of deportation was voided under the Alien Enemies Act by which Trump deported this guy. I think we're done with this debate. Really. So it's funny to see this guy backpedaling. And, a lot of people said, why doesn't Trump just give him his interview so he gets deported? And it's, Trump doesn't want to bend the knee to Democrats. And more importantly, he kind of likes that they're screaming over this guy. What I hear is that in the Trump admin, they're basically happy that Democrats are going full steam on a guy who's not a very good dude, accused of beating his wife. But here's Van Hollen's new narrative. Democrat senator tells Fox News he's not vouching for the man, and he will support a court deporting him. This is called winning, my friends. Here's what we do. To all the people who are screaming due process, he had a withholding of deportation to El Salvador. Indeed. Okay, Trump, let's get a guy from USCIS, have him go down to El Salvador and sit with the vice president, maybe even Nayib Bukele, and Abrego Garcia. They can have this interview, and then we will determine whether or not there is still a threat to Abrego Garcia's life in El Salvador. And the reason why I'm willing to take that gambit, because Nayib Bukele, the president of El Salvador, cleaned up the streets and imprisoned all the gang members. Thus, the threat of life against Abrego Garcia, it's void. They literally say in this court document I have that they demonstrated the circumstances in his home country preclude deportation. He faces a threat of death. And the DOJ did not argue that. Now it's under Trump. It was 2019. So now Trump is saying you had a final deportation order. They found to be MS-13, Alien Enemies Act, you're gone. To be fair, that in and of itself is all you need. Now, the Supreme Court has said Trump must stop deporting under the Alien Enemies Act. So things are getting absolutely crazy in this country. And what we hear from the squishy moderates is, but Trump can't defy the courts. It's really fascinating to me to see Democrats coming out screaming Trump can't defy the courts when Democrats did nothing but defy courts. And now Trump has more universal injunctions on him than any other president, and about half. It was a third at one point. And the total number is about 200. He's got 81. He has like 40% of all unconstitutional universal injunctions. Heavens me. But you know what? Let's just hear what this squishy Van Hollen has to say as he starts to learn the truth about how people really feel about Abrego Garcia.
You ask him if he has any association with MS-13.
I did not ask him directly because he's answered that question repeatedly, as his lawyers have. My purpose in going there was to, number one, see if he was alive, see if he was healthy, take his story. As I said, they have litigated this case on MS-13, and it was the judge in the most recent case who says put up or shut up. So that's what I say to President Trump and others, put up or shut up.
Hearing these reports from Prince George's County Police and from the immigration judge and the appeals court in the immigration setting, do you worry, though, that you are sticking your neck out for somebody who maybe down the line is proven to be connected to MS-13?
I want to be very clear. I'm not vouching for the man. I'm vouching for the man's rights, his constitutional rights to due process. And the proper place to litigate that is in the courts. And the most recent federal district court judge that looked at this, Judge Zinnes, said that the administration had presented no evidence of his connection to MS-13 or, by the way, to any other criminal gang or terrorist activity.
Okay.
So, again,
it's a lie.
All the issues you raised, why aren't they presenting those to the courts?
This is the lie. It's been done already twice. The document that I pulled up was the court hearing on withholding of deportation, which was granted. They said he admitted to removability through his own counsel. They outright were like, yes, he can be removed, but we're asking you not to do it. And a judge said, fine. The remedy now is a USCIS interview to determine if the circumstances changed. If they did, then he gets deported. More importantly, he's ordered to deport. All this withholding does is stop us from sending him there. He could go anywhere he wants. Remarkable lies.
So again, put up or shut up in court, which is where we litigate these things.
Okay, so you know that there's been a lot of attention on two Maryland women who are angel moms in the sense that no connection to Mr. Garcia at all, but in two separate cases involving people who were in the U.S. and in Maryland illegally violently raped and killed their daughters. This is Patty Morin, the mother of Rachel Morin, one of your constituents.
And to have a senator from Maryland who didn't even acknowledge or barely acknowledged my daughter and the brutal death that she endured, leaving her 5 children without a mother and now a grandbaby without a grandmother, so that he can use my taxpayer money to fly to El Salvador to bring back someone that's not even an American citizen.
So a lot of questions there. First of all, who did pay for this trip?
This was an officially cleared, congressional trip, cleared
So
by
taxpayer
bipartisan.
dollars.
Taxpayer dollars, ladies and gentlemen. Taxpayer dollars for this stunt that I will outright say violates the Logan Act. And who am I? I'm not a lawyer, but I'm going to read you the Logan Act. This dude violated. He is undermining the duly elected executive branch's job in foreign policy, interfering. Jamie Raskin did it too. This story's nuts. Jamie Raskin threatening other countries that work with Trump. I kid you not. 4 more Democrats flying down. Enough already.
Basis. Yes, like every other trip that, like the trip Kristi Noem took with her fashion show before CCOT, like the trip that 5 Republican members of the House took, like the day before when they went into CCOT.
And they didn't do it to interfere with U.S. foreign policy, and they didn't ignore the mother of a woman mercilessly beaten by an illegal immigrant.
I can tell you, so yes, it was an official trip.
Okay, so your response to her, and you understand her frustration and feeling like her daughter was a constituent of yours, met a horrible end. That family didn't hear from you, and understand their frustration and that they see you extending so much time and energy over the Garcia case.
So what happened to the Morin family was awful and unacceptable. I cannot imagine losing a child like they lost Rachel. And I said at the time that my heart goes out to the Morin family. And I'm glad that the killer of Rachel Morin has been convicted in a court of law.
That's the game.
That's how we hold guilty people accountable.
Okay. Look, man, I would say outright, Alien Enemies Act supersedes a withholding of deportation. That's the argument. They should sue Trump and challenge that notion. Because right now that's Trump's argument. So there's nothing more to be done. It absolutely is insane to me. Let me see if I can, that we're in this moment where the dude has MS-13 tattooed on his hand. And, whatever argument you want to say, it's a marijuana leaf, it's a smiley, it's a cross, and a skull. The argument is the cross was a 1 and the skull was a 3, and you got him written over or something like that. That looks interesting because the skull is it does appear darker, as if it's newer. But who am I? Who am I? The argument from the left over Donald Trump pointing out that M for marijuana, S for smiley, a cross for a 1 and a skull for a 3, represents MS-13. The argument from the left is just that Trump photoshopped it. Yeah, that's right. It doesn't say MS-13 in his hand. That's their... Ladies and gentlemen, do they think we're really going to fall for that stuff? If they had come out and said Trump's claim that these symbols represent MS-13 are nebulous at best, that's an argument. Instead, they came out and claimed the legend that Trump applied to an image, meaning here's the MS-13 to show you what each symbols mean. They're claiming Trump photoshopped those onto the hand to make it look like his hand said MS-13 on it. Oh my God. Well, that's where we're at. Now, I do find this to be really funny. In the actual due process hearing, I want to scroll to the bottom, where he was granted a withholding of deportation. They mentioned Guatemala, which is a fascinating thing. They say that DHS has not shown there are changed circumstances in Guatemala that would result in the respondent's life not being threatened, or that internal relocation is possible. Therefore, they granted him a withholding of deportation. Here's the best part. Let's go to paragraph 1. The introduction of this. The respondent is a native citizen of El Salvador. DHS issued a respondent a notice to appear March 29, 2019, which alleged 1, he's not a citizen or national of the U.S. 2, he's a native and citizen of El Salvador. 3, he entered the U.S. at or near an unknown place on or about an unknown date, a.k.a. illegally. 4, was not then admitted or paroled after inspection by an immigration officer. At a master calendar hearing, the respondent, through counsel, admitted the factual allegations contained in the NTA and conceded removability as charged. Based on the respondent's admission and concessions, the court found his removability to be established by clear and convincing evidence, as required by INA. Are we done? They say, as a relief from removal, the respondent filed Form I-589, application for asylum, withholding of removal, and relief under Article 3, Convention Against Torture. The respondent and his wife both testified in support of the applications. The court reserved the matter for the issuance of a written decision. The court has considered the arguments. Both parties have entered record carefully, and the following documentary evidence was considered. The point is this. They mentioned the I-213. It says he is a member of MS-13. Okay. It says he conceded removability. It says the court found removability to be established by clear and convincing evidence. Okay. So under the Alien Enemies Act, this guy, as found to be an MS-13 gang member, was deported. The administrative error was I would just say, the lack of a of a proper stance from the administration. They initially came out and said, we didn't realize the withholding of deportation to El Salvador, and said, bring him back. And then Stephen Miller said, actually, under the Alien Enemies Act, it's a totally different matter now. And he's correct. It is. And if you don't think it is, you got an argument. But the executive branch has taken an executive action. If you've got a problem with it, you sue him over that action. What we have now is a district court arguing that the federal government has not produced evidence he's MS-13, despite the fact he went to court and they said he was twice. But you get all that, right? You already know that's the case. Before I get into where do we have? I'm sorry, the 4 Democrats. Where did I put that story? I thought I had it. Is it back here? Oh, geez. Yeah, before I get into the Democrats landing in El Salvador to make everything worse, I want to go for a few points for you. And I do have this clip from Charlie Kirk's appearance on Bill Maher's show. And I'm a little frustrated here. Charlie's a good dude, but he's being very nice to Bill Maher. And you could be professional with Bill Maher, but just tell him he's wrong and tell him these things need to be addressed to his audience. Here's the clip.
Well, they didn't vote for
mass deportations.
People without any. I mean,
you mean that Maryland case is what you're talking about, right?
The guy who they said
MS-13 member.
Well, there's no evidence that they did not present evidence. I mean, I don't really want to get into the weeds on this one because I got to do it on my show Friday.
I don't buy it. I think what Bill Maher is saying is, I haven't actually checked into this and I'm worried about being wrong, so I'm deflecting. Because anybody who looked into it, who firmly believed it, would have come out outright and said, no, you're referring to the I-213. Now, a statement from a judge that they believe him to be MS-13 isn't hard evidence. That's the real argument. I reject that argument. He was arrested with MS-13, identified as MS-13, and he's got tattoos on his hand that are also further evidence of being an MS-13. And this, in my opinion, is enough for a federal judge. These are executive immigration judges, by the way, to deport the guy, to say, you're supposed to be deported as is. That's enough. That's enough. What Bill is trying to argue is that somehow this guy is a legal resident. No. Let me play the clip. Let's keep going.
But the Supreme Court, I guess we have to get into the weeds.
There's even new evidence in the last couple of hours that you lead the conversation. You tell me how deep you want to go on it.
None.
Okay.
I mean, but
why none? Yeah, you look, man. There's probably a reason why this old Bill guy don't want to come on this show and don't want me on his show. To be fair, they gave us a date back in February, but my child was being born, so I couldn't do it. And they say we're just waiting for another dates. Sorry, I'm not like Charlie. I wouldn't say none. I'd immediately just say no. The due process afforded to illegal immigrants is a quick process. We determine whether or not you're a citizen, you're not. The judge took the preponderance of evidence and said, we determine you to be a member of MS-13. We are not talking about an American citizen who's getting a jury trial. We're talking about a non-citizen being deported.
I hope that if it comes to light, let me button it up this way. I hope that if it does come to light, that there really is no evidence that this guy was a gang member, that he got swept up, which is very understandable, that when you do a sweep, when you're doing big things, yes, nothing is going to go perfect. But if it does come to light, I would hope that some Republicans have the spine to say, yeah, that's not right. This guy should not be there. I mean,
okay, I'm going to give Charlie and Bill this one. They must have recorded this a while ago, I guess. Maybe they recorded it a while ago, because the facts of the case have come out to a great degree. And the DOJ and the Trump administration have, in my opinion, been slow rolling the evidence intentionally. We knew about the court documents. We knew about the informant. That was enough for most people to say it's an illegal immigrant. We're not going to bring a jury in for this. When Democrats lost their mind and said that wasn't evidence, then the DOJ dropped the actual reports from the arrest that they were actually targeting MS-13. He was with them. He was identified as a chiqueo, meaning a probationary member, not a full-fledged member, but someone who works with the gang and is pending full benefits of membership, full admission, only after a violent act, such as murdering a person. He's got a marijuana, a smiley, a cross, and a skull in his hand, which is argued by the Trump admin, further evidence. I didn't say hard proof, but at least a lot of evidence has been presented and testimony that this guy is a gang member.
The Bill of Rights, it's pretty clear that you can't just disappear people without any sort of trial.
Well, sorry.
Indeed, but he got that.
And deportation is not the same thing as sending someone to a prison.
But you are allowed to deport under the Alien Enemies Act.
Correct.
Someone who is part of a recognized terrorist organization, which MS-13 is pretty close to a terrorist organization.
Yeah, okay.
Full stop. Not pretty close, Charlie. Trump has said they are a terrorist organization. Now, the question is, how are we defining what a terrorist organization is? In this regard, these are people who murder politicians. So, yeah, a narco gang that kills politicians, I'd argue, is a terrorist organization.
I mean, you're bending all these words.
And he's not an American citizen. We got to acknowledge that.
No, absolutely not.
So that's important.
But he wasn't here illegally either.
No, he was.
Illegally.
Yeah, the Maryland man. As long as we're not talking about two different cases.
We're talking about Garcia.
Yes,
yeah.
He was an illegal immigrant to the country.
I thought he was waiting for asylum.
Well, you could be illegal waiting for asylum.
I see. So so they could deport him. That's right.
Yes.
But we never did it, but to a prison.
It's an edge case. I acknowledge it's on the edge.
Okay, good.
No, but the edge is, so there's three ways you can deport people. It could be the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. It can be
used only 3 times.
That's fine, but hey, look, and you quote the First Amendment all the time. That's from 1787, right? So old things are important. No, I'm just saying, just because it's old.
That's been used more than 3 times.
Fair enough, but just because things are old doesn't mean, and I'm not saying you're using that talking point, but some people are trying to invalidate it just because it's old. It's also expedited release.
They're trying to invalidate it because it doesn't really apply to this, that it's stretching.
I mean, how is MS-13 not a terrorist organization?
Yeah,
I mean,
you can make
or
that.
Tren de Aragua. I mean, organized
because terrorism really is.
The important point that I wanted to bring up in this is actually as I tweeted it. Garcia's asylum was denied. He wasn't waiting for asylum. He was ordered to deport and was found to be MS-13 by multiple judges. What ended up happening in this document is that, as I've already shown you, they went on to say, because he has a fear of death. And so let me show you a little bit before we get more into the polling on this and how it's blowing up in their faces. They say that for asylum credibility, they say that they must demonstrate by clear and convincing evidence. His asylum application is time barred without exception. He was not waiting. Now, for the withholding, they said that he needs to show past persecution. The one central reason, blah, blah, blah. They're basically just saying he doesn't have to do this. He doesn't have to do this. He doesn't got to do this. And they bring up the well-founded fear. Based on the above, the respondent has demonstrated that he was subject to past persecution on account of a statutorily protected ground. They're going to say DHS has failed to carry their burden to show that there are changed circumstances in Guatemala that will result in the respondent's life not being threatened. Now, I got a question that I'm wondering why hasn't been brought up yet. This case was about threats he received from Guatemala, to which my understanding is that it's a different gang from Guatemala that was threatening his life, that if he stayed in El Salvador. They say, given his testimony and other evidence concerning official corruption and other abuses, he has demonstrated that authorities were and would be unable or unwilling to protect him from past or feared future persecution, given country conditions and the respondent's ability to avoid the threat through internal relocation. The respondent could not necessarily avoid the threat through internal relocation, nor would it be reasonable to expect him to. They're going to mention changes have not occurred in Guatemala. The facts show that the Barrio 18 gang continues to threaten and harass the Abrego family over these several years, and does so even though the family has moved 3 times. Could it be because he's a member of MS-13? Probably. Indeed, my friends. But let's get to the meat and potatoes here. We went over this last week a little bit, but we'll get a bit into the weeds as we move on from this to the next phase of the story. CNN data guru gives Dems an ominous warning on deported dad. I love how he's just a dad. He's a dad now. Trump's approval ratings are up as the majority of Americans support his stance on immigration. Indeed. That's right. CNN data guru Harry Ensign revealed that most American voters want to deport all undocumented immigrants, as Democrats continue to fight for wrongly deported Maryland dad to be returned from El Salvador. They're doing this because people like Bill Maher, they don't deep dive the news, and they don't watch shows like this. They glean their information off of an MSNBC headline, and then they hear Maryland father deported. He's like, wow. I mean, if evidence comes out that he's not really an MS-13, then I hope some Republicans, there's already evidence he is an MS-13. So what do you mean? What are we going to have? Are we going to have like a bunch of MS-13 guys produce documents of him fist fighting MS-13 gang members wearing a costume that says destroyer of MS-13? Like, what evidence would prove he's not? He hangs out with these guys. He was arrested with these guys. He was identified as one of them. Like, what else is there? We got this one from Gallup from 2024, and I showed other polls too, but we're getting different ones. 55% want immigration decreased. Decreased. This is a year ago. As of today, Americans largely aren't as concerned with immigration. I don't know. Could it be that Donald Trump shut it down? He shut down the illegal immigration, and thus, people are kind of just chill about it? Indeed, that is likely the scenario we're dealing with. So if I pull up Pew Research, some of the latest data from March 26, 2025, Newsweek had a story from Echelon Insights. 54% say deport them all. CNN came out and said 55% deport them all. But who would I be to not pull up Pew Research, which says only 32% are saying deport them all? You see? We try to be fair and balanced here, right? Well, check this out. It's still damning. Majorities of U.S. adults across demographic groups say immigrants in the country illegally should be deported. Let's zoom in on this here image. You can see it better. 32% of all U.S. adults say all of them, and 51% say some of them. So 83% of all U.S. adults are in favor to a certain degree of deportations. Pretty sure Trump's going to win this one. Now, this one isn't 83% saying deport everybody. But I tell you this, my friends, when most of the people in this country say we should be deporting people, and Donald Trump deports an MS-13 gang member, I tell you why Van Hollen is backing away saying I would support deportation for this guy. He's trying to back off because whoopsie daisies. 83% want deportations. Now, let's be reasonable. If you went to a spattering of this 83% and asked them, what is the criteria by which you think someone should be deported? What are they going to say? Violent offenders. I got one for you. Should we deport an illegal immigrant? Yes or no? 32% say yes without question. 51% saying, maybe not. Maybe not. I say, okay. What if he beat his wife mercilessly on multiple occasions? I guarantee you they're all going to say, yeah, that's the guy we want deported. I didn't even mention MS-13. Let's just do this, baby. Democrats are defending a wife beater. A guy who is found to be deported who beat his wife. Like, that's enough. That's enough for the average person. So by all means, stick your neck out on an 80-20 issue once again. New York Times. Democrats land in El Salvador seeking release of Maryland resident. The visit comes on the heels of a trip by Senator Chris Van Hollen, who met last week with deported man Kilmar Armando Abrego Garcia. Here we go. I say Logan Act them. Logan Act them all. I'm not kidding. The previous administration arrested Trump's lawyers. It stripped the due process rights of American citizens in the J6 cases. Now, the left will lie. I don't care what they have to say. They're liars. How about Owen Schroyer? First example. In his sentencing, they put him in prison because of things he said after the fact. Unconstitutional. Violation of his free speech rights. Several individuals were facing multiple years in prison for showing up hours after the riot when the grounds were open and exposed and they had no idea what had happened. They walked up to a public building with no barricades and open doors. 2 years. How about the people who were convicted of seditious conspiracy despite never even being there? More importantly, the Democrats are going to say, Tim, but they got their day in court. And I will respond. How about the individuals who were barred showing evidence and barred from presenting witness testimony to prove their innocence? One particular case, an individual requested 3 seconds of video be shown because the extended video would have proven innocence. It was exculpatory evidence, and the judge barred it. The judge intentionally barred exculpatory evidence to make sure these people went to prison. Now, there are some cases in J6 where an individual showed video of the cop waving him in, and a judge said, you're right, you are free to go. Not everybody got that luxury of due process. Yes, that's right, luxury in this regard. So when they say, we're fighting for the rights, no, they aren't. They're fighting to protect MS-13 gang member wife-beating lunatics. And the American citizens, the actual American citizens, were tracked down. They were hunted mercilessly. So Logan Act them. Because if Donald Trump doesn't have the balls to go after the people who would strip due process and defend the Constitution and uphold the rule of law in this country, we have no country. If Donald Trump is to say to his DOJ, don't use the Logan Act, we don't do that. This is the law of this country. It says you cannot do a thing. If he chooses not to uphold the law and to allow Democrats to violate it, then we may as well just lay down having lost already. To be fair, I am not convinced that this administration is going to do what they should be doing under the Logan Act and charging these 5 individuals. Here's the story from the New York Times. Let me show you. And then I'll read you the Logan Act, which says it plain as day. They said the visit comes on the heel of the trip by Senator Chris Van Hollen. The New York Times says, 4 Democratic lawmakers have arrived in El Salvador, where they intend to continue pressing for the release of a Maryland resident who was wrongly deported to a prison in the Central American country. Representatives Robert Garcia of California, Maxwell Alejandro Frost Yasemin Ansari and Maxine Dexter of Oregon landed Sunday. They're hoping their trip will focus more attention on Trump's admin's lack of action. You know, I understand why Trump may not do it. Donald Trump may be intentionally avoiding charging them under the Logan Act because it is actually good political messaging for the right that Democrats are doing everything in their power to help an awful, evil guy. Sure. Quote, while Donald Trump continues to defy the Supreme Court, Kilmar Abrego Garcia is being held illegally in El Salvador after being wrongfully deported. That is why we are here, to remind the American people that kidnapping immigrants and deporting them without due process is not how we do things in America. The question of the Logan Act falls explicitly to what they say. If Tulsi Gabbard, for instance, meets with Bashar al-Assad, it's fine as long as she doesn't direct foreign policy, make promises or threats. These people are allowed to go there. So what I should say right now is, I will clarify, and I'll walk it back a little bit. I accept that. These people should be investigated for violating the Logan Act, and if found to be criminally culpable, charged as such. They say the Trump admin originally admitted he was sent to El Salvador by mistake, but have since said it was actually lawful because they said, you know what, under the Alien Enemies Act, we can do this. They said the 4 members of Congress are scheduled to meet with U.S. Embassy officials and human rights groups in San Salvador. They say, in addition to calling for Mr. Abrego Garcia's release, they are there to find out the status of others deported from the U.S. to El Salvador. Here's the Logan Act. Any citizen of the United States, whoever they may be, who without the authority of the U.S. directly or indirectly commences or carries on any correspondence or intercourse with any foreign government or any officer or agent thereof with intent to influence the measures or conduct of any foreign government or of any officer or agent thereof in relation to any disputes or controversies within the United States, or to defeat the measures of the United States, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 3 years or both. This section shall not abridge the right of a citizen to apply himself or his agent to any foreign government or to the agents thereof for redress of any injury which he may have sustained from any such government or any of its agents and subjects. The Logan Act only been used twice, I believe, but so what? What it says, it's specifically about who has the right to conduct foreign policy. The president is the sole arbiter of that authority. If this is undermining our foreign policy, and it is, and that is their intention, we have a problem. These people are largely arguing that we shouldn't deport anyone under the Alien Enemies Act to the CCOT El Salvador prison. But this is Trump's foreign policy, and Trump was voted in. So there's questions about the Alien Enemies Act, and for the time being, the Supreme Court said no. Thomas and Alito, of course, are, let's just say, moderately perturbed over this development. Tends to always be Thomas and Alito who are defending the Constitution. But in this capacity, there's a real question over whether or not 5 Democrats flying to El Salvador, having conversations, demanding they release a man the executive branch says they lawfully deported. He's an El Salvador citizen, sent to El Salvador, found to be MS-13 by multiple judges, and in El Salvador, they're holding him. By what authority do these individuals have to undermine the foreign policy actions of President Trump as he pays for these prisons to function? Donald Trump is not perfect. I don't expect him to be. I think Bill Maher made a point where he says it's reasonable that in these big sweeping moves, some people get swept up, but this is not that guy. And the courts do not have the authority to issue universal injunctions that should be disallowed. I mean, it was never allowed in the first place. So I say, Logan Act. Take a look at this story from the New York Post. This should shock every one of you. High-ranking Democrat Jamie Raskin threatens countries that support Trump. When we come back to power, we are not going to look kindly. That's a threat. And that almost violates the Logan Act. It's seditious. What he's basically saying is, if you work with Trump, we're coming for you. All that need happen next is for Jamie Raskin to have any correspondence with any of these individuals, and intent and motive are clear. He's threatening them so that they do not work with our president. He is undermining our foreign policy. It's a bold statement, my friends. It is a threat. Now, before we read the story, of course, my friends, smash that like button, share the show with everyone you know. Check out castbrew.com pick up some coffee, and more importantly, the members-only Culture War Live, the premier pilot episode where you as members of the Timcast Discord can join us in the debate stage. You want to insult me for some reason? By all means, we'll have you on stage, sitting down at the table, debating with us over these key issues. Go to timcast.com, click join us, get in the Discord server. Only 9 tickets remain. We may do some waiting room seats just in case people don't show up, but we are going to allow at the door, if people show up and let's say we have an empty seat, you can sign up for a membership on the spot and take that seat. And if you want to submit your talking points, we're going to have you on stage. Here's a story from the New York Post, my friends. Don't forget to also smash the like button, as I said, but follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. Rep. Jamie Raskin threatened foreign leaders who, quote, facilitated authoritarianism in our country by currying favor with President Trump on issues like deportation, saying that Democrats will not look kindly on his supporters when they come back to power. Referencing El Salvador's President Nayib Bukele specifically, Raskin suggested that Dems should keep score of foreign leaders who brown-nosed Trump, 78, during a second term. Quote, implicit in it should be the idea that if and when we come back to power, and we will, we are not going to look kindly upon people who facilitated authoritarianism in our country. He said this on Pod Save America to Tommy Viter. Viter told Raskin that a Latin American policy expert suggested to him that Democrats should threaten to take action against any foreign government that participates in the extraordinary rendition of American citizens. Trump has tapped into war powers under the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 to rapidly deport alleged gangbangers outside of traditional deportation channels to El Salvador, notorious terrorism confinement center, Sicat mega prison. As he should, and I support. But Jamie Raskin is playing fast and loose. The editorial board of the New York Post says Raskin sinks to new low by vowing vengeance on foreign leaders who work with Team Trump. This should not be allowed. Absolutely not. Sebastian Gorka, White House counter-terror official, suggests critics of mass deportations are aiding and abetting terrorism. Now, these are the kind of things that do worry me to a certain degree. But you're allowed to be critical of mass deportation, okay? Aiding and abetting is a bold jump here. I would say those that aid and abet MS-13 gang members are aiding and abetting terrorism.
Terrorists. And just how comical it is that, again, they dumped all of this into this country. Millions and millions of people were dumped into this country intentionally. It was flagrant. It was treasonous. And now you have the same party that did this to us are sitting back and watching as the White House tries to go through this almost impossible process of deporting millions of people. And they're trying to find any problem they can that they can jump on, you know, to vilify the White House as they try to do the almost impossible mandate that was given to them by the American people of how do you figure out how to deport 15 million people that were invited in by the last president?
I came up with this over a year ago when I had my show on Newsmax, Rob, and I realized that the taxonomy of politics in America is dead. It's not left and right. It's not even Republican or Democrat. There's one line that divides us. Do you love America or do you hate America? It's really quite that simple. And we have people who love America, like the president, like his cabinet, like the directors of his agencies, who want to protect Americans. And then there is the other side that is on the side of the cartel members, on the side of the illegal aliens, on the side of the terrorists. And you have to ask yourself, are they technically aiding and abetting them? Because aiding and abetting criminals and terrorists is a crime in federal statute, Rob.
Indeed. How hard do you guys want to play? I want to hear what you have to say. Seriously, in the comments. Van Hollen flew down to seek the release of an adjudicated MS-13 gang member. They have been named a terrorist organization by Donald Trump, the president. That is his authority. It is also a crime to provide material support to terrorists. How hard do you want to go? Should Trump charge Van Hollen and these Democrats with aiding and abetting, providing material support to terrorist organizations? It is a dark day indeed in this country. Because I got to tell you, my answer is, man, I don't know. I don't know. The Logan Act, I get. Investigate them. And if they're actively, let a jury decide. The law is the law. Let the jury decide. They should be charged. Aiding and abetting or providing material support to terrorists. How many of these individuals are fundraising and providing money to this guy for this guy's legal defense? It's where things get pretty interesting. Everybody's entitled to legal defense, even terrorists. If you're donating for a legal defense that can only be used for lawyers, I say, okay, it's a constitutional protection. But what if that money can be used for anything? Are you now not just providing material support to a designated terrorist organization? I see a lot of people in the chat are saying, yep, charge them. A crime is a crime. Do we sit back and say, of the Democrats, they violated the rights of the J6ers, but we will do nothing? It's a rock and a hard place, my friends. I don't have any good answers for you. The only thing I can tell you is that conflict has made it to your doorstep, whether you want it to or not. They have arrested Trump's lawyers last year. They tried to put Trump in prison. In fact, Trump's phony civil fraud case is still pending adjudication. The judges haven't ruled 7 months on. They falsely accused Trump of rape, and they do so every single day. They created this new law that allowed a 30-year-old allegation with no evidence to emerge. The story made no sense, but they didn't care because Democrats in New York just said, fine, whatever. Trump's guilty. They knew what the outcome was going to be. The J6ers hunted down across the country. Due process rights violated in court. And so much more. These aren't the only operations. I mean, the Biden administration censoring negative information about COVID and vaccines or anything like that on social media. The lawsuits that proved it. What do you think happens if the Democrats take power again? Do you think a group as unscrupulous and ruthless as this is going to be nice? Or do you think they're going to say to themselves, this will never happen again? We're fortunate that Trump won the popular vote. Absolutely. Trump must exercise all authorities that he has to secure this nation. Take a look at this from Breitbart. New Mexico Democrat judge resigns after ICE arrests alleged Tren de Aragua gang member in his home. What? A Democrat had a Tren de Aragua member in his house? Federal prosecutors in the District of New Mexico allege that 23-year-old Christian Ortega Lopez was illegally in possession of a firearm and has ties to the hyper-violent Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua. Now, I just want to say I don't believe there's such thing as illegal possession of a firearm. I'll let that one go. But Tren de Aragua? Interesting. Earlier this year, Trump and the U.S. State Department declared the gang to be a foreign terrorist organization. They say police arrested Abrego. Is it what? It's Ortega, isn't it? Is that a typo? It's a typo. Ortega Lopez while executing a search warrant at the home of Donna Ana County, New Mexico Magistrate Judge Joel Cano and his wife, Nancy. Cano, a former police officer, allowed Ortega Lopez to file a request for immigration relief using the judge's residential address. Court exhibits also posted social media posts of the foreign national posing with the judge. Court records obtained by Breitbart reveal, I'm assuming it's a typo, that Ortega Lopez, a Venezuelan national, entered the U.S. illegally in Eagle Pass, Texas, during the peak of the Biden border crisis in December of 2023. Due to overcrowding in the Eagle Pass detention facility, he was released 3 days later. This is it. A New Mexico Democrat judge was harboring, aiding, and abetting a terrorist. Charge him. Will the DOJ do it? I'm going to ask him. So as many of you know, I've been invited to some of these events they're doing at the White House, and we're currently working on interviews and other appointments. I'm going to ask him. I'm going to bring these. I'm going to say, are you going to charge this judge who is providing material support to a known terrorist? You know, man, I go back to the 2000s when these laws were being passed, and I remember the fear everybody had. Providing material support to a terrorist, what does that mean? Who's a terrorist? Now we have terrorist designations. The only problem? These Democrats stripped the rights of J6ers and many others. They engaged in surreptitious operations to defame and smear individuals on the right. They raided the home of Roger Stone and tipped off CNN. So I just say, welcome to war. You may not have asked for it, but it's at your doorstep, so you decide. Will you keep your head down and say, yes, sir, may I have another? Or will you say, Trump, we've elected you, please do your job, and we hope for the best? I'm not saying Trump should do wrong or evil things. I'm saying Trump needs to use all of his authorities at this point to save this country. Bill Ackman with his viral tweet, 72 million views. A nation in which one administration can allow millions of unvetted illegal migrants into the country, but requires that a court vet each deportation decision in an individually adjudicated case will soon lose the values our democratic system was intended to preserve. That's just math. It's called a valve, meaning you can flow in one direction. You can come in, but you can't go out. That system will eventually burst at the seams. It will explode. It's like a water pipe where there's nowhere for the water to go. Eventually, it just implodes on itself. Or, I'm sorry, it explodes. Now, I mentioned this early on. Trump shared the photos of the gang tattoos, where you can clearly see there's a marijuana smiley, a cross, and a 3. And Trump says the marijuana means M, the smiley means S, the cross is a 1, the skull is a 3. Maybe. I don't know. But here's how the left addressed it. Trump's terribly doctored photo. Yep. They are telling everybody Trump's intention was to put the letters MS-13 on his hands to trick them into thinking those were the actual tattoos, despite the fact that what he really did was label the symbols and what they represent. Skull, cross, smiley, marijuana, MS-1 and 3. I don't know why the skull means 3. Some say it's because craneo is Spanish for skull, and that's the 3rd letter in the alphabet. Maybe. Some are arguing that the skull just was a tattoo that goes over the 3. Maybe. Yahoo, from the Daily Beast. Internet sleuths slam Trump for photoshopping MS-13 tat on deported dad's hand. Uh-huh. Are you falling for this? Guys, if we really want to play this game that there was an administrative error and this guy's an illegal immigrant, then the answer is just, if the Democrats actually want an answer, it's have a USCIS hearing right now, go to El Salvador with a USCIS official, interview him, come home and say, deportation certified. Goodbye. And we're done. But I think the Trump administration wants to assert the AEA, the Alien Enemies Act. Andrew Branco, the Law of Self-Defense, at Law Self-Defense, says it's worse than that. Abrego Garcia never even applied for asylum because he couldn't. Incorrect. He did in 2019, but it was 7 years later. If you enter the country illegally, you must apply for asylum within 1 year. Garcia told authorities he entered the country in 2011, but his first interaction with immigration was in 2019, 7 years too late to apply for asylum. They did file trying to get asylum. It was denied. And that's on Abrego Garcia. He made himself ineligible to apply for asylum. And he guesses why an MS-13 member might not have even attempted to apply for asylum in the first year of unlawful entry. He says, someone responded, Kathy Wilkerson, I was thinking about this very thing yesterday and wondering why. If his entire family is legal, why wasn't he? Which I suspected the answer would be exactly as you suggest. Branca says it wasn't really his family. He met an American woman with 2 children from a prior partner. He knocked her up with a 3rd child. He either never married her or only very recently married her after the pregnancy. How are we here? I don't know. Maybe Bill Maher actually got into brass tacks on his show on Real Time, but Bill isn't a deep dive kind of guy. Not like I am, or Steven Crowder, or I don't know. There's a lot of people I could cite. Neither is Joe Rogan. I'm not saying to be a dick to either of them. These guys are just shooting the ish. You know what I mean? They're having a conversation. All I do all day, every morning is just read all of these stories. I pull up the court documents. And I even have to argue with ChatGPT because it tries to lie. And we come to this conclusion. This man was lawfully deported under the Alien Enemies Act. There's an administrative argument that is superseded by the AEA. The best case scenario Democrats have is a USCIS official needs to go down and interview Abrego Garcia. Likely the result will be El Salvador is safe. And we're done. Well, my friends, smash that like button, share the show with everyone you know. We will be rating Russell Brand, who's coming up live the next hour. But in the meantime, we'll grab your Rumble rants, see what you guys have to say. Many people pointing out, Tim streamed to the wrong channel again. Indeed, I did. Indeed, I did. And I'll tell you why. So it's different the way Rumble handles live streaming versus YouTube. Rumble live streaming, it's one account, and then you get a drop selection of all the different channels. And so if I misclick, which is what happened, it won't change the indicator. And then I press go, and it's on Timcast IRL channel, and I have to either delete it and redo it. And by the time I saw that it was a misclick, it was too late. But it's okay. I think it can be fixed after the fact, so ain't no thing. Y'all got to watch. The show's live. Hey, what did we miss? Pinochet says, 10 million illegal alien fighting age males. Yeah, Trump is deporting the army the Democrat terrorists tried to build before they could arm or act. KWA says Trump should declare a national emergency. Absolutely no new immigrants until we go through these 20 million that came in over the last 4 years, until all identified and removed, the ones needed, zero exception. Congress should pass a law, if not already in existence, making it a felony to provide any work to illegal immigrants. 100%. Here's what I believe should happen. If you are a business that employs an illegal immigrant, you should be fined for the employment of that illegal immigrant. If you knowingly hire an illegal immigrant, okay, knowingly, then it should be criminal charges for any and all individuals who are aware of that in the process. Let's say you work for a Denny's and a guy comes in and you're like, we need someone to work as a cook. And the guy says, I'm not legal. And they go, don't worry about it. We'll hire you anyway. They go to the manager and say, look, this guy's not legal, but don't worry about it. The manager says, okay, we're good. Those guys should get criminal charges. Misdemeanor, maybe felony charges, depending on how serious. Maybe it's depending on how many illegals they hire. But let's say a guy applies and lies, provides evidence that he's an American citizen. Then I say to these people, no criminal charges, no penalties, no fines. If you're running a business and you are tricked through fraudulent means, then this illegal immigrant should be criminally charged for fraud. Now, if in a person, I draw this distinction because if you're a business and you do not seek evidence of citizenship, and the immigrant just says, trust me, you say, okay, I guess. That's reckless disregard. That, I believe, should be a fine, penalty, or slap on the wrist, but a penalty nonetheless. We need to make it nigh impossible for illegal immigrants to come and be disruptive in our economy. Let's see what else we got. Sporkwitch says, of course, there's such a thing as illegal possession of a firearm. Like any other right, it can be stripped by due process. When convicted of felony, your two-way rights are stripped, same as prison. Indeed. However, I do not agree that after. So here's what I don't agree with. I agree with incarceration. I believe that stripping someone of their right to defend themselves after being released is cruel and unusual punishment. I would argue that if a person is put in prison because they're a danger to others, that is us saying you're a danger. When we release them, that is us saying you're a danger no more. You get all your rights back. Because imagine this. If we still assumed the guy was a felon, so he's still a danger to society, so he can't have a weapon, so he'll just illegally get one then. That's stupid. Either we acknowledge you've paid your debt to society, you're free to go, and thus your rights are restored, or we admit this is a violation, or we admit that this guy's probably going to offend again, I suppose. I think it's a violation of the 8th Amendment. That it's cruel to tell someone that you have no right to defend yourself, but we're going to release you. Nah, I don't play that. My friends, we're gearing up for that raid on Russell Brand. So that'll be coming up in a second. Don't forget to smash the like button. Share the show with everyone you know. Like I mentioned, castbrew.com. Pick up some coffee. Appalachian Night's everybody's favorite, but Ian's Graphene Dream, low acidity, taking it by storm. We got Phil's Gingerbread. We got 2 times caffeine, Alex Stein. We got Luck of the Seamus. You got to go search for these things. They're all there. Focus with Mr. Bocus, a lot of great flavors. And more importantly, the Culture War Live, gearing up May 3rd, and we want to see you there. If this event goes swimmingly, then what we're going to do for future events, we are likely going to continue with our similar small venue in the coming weeks if this one goes well. But if it goes really well, we're hoping within a month to have a regularly scheduled larger venue up to 100 or 200 seats with tickets available on the spot. Because then what we got going on is Saturday night debate live. We'll be doing bookings. Then it's like you can come down and see your favorite personalities, see the debates, be a part of that debate. We're hoping it's going to be absolutely amazing. My friends, smash that like button, share the show, hang out with Russell Brand. Don't miss his show coming up now on the Rumble Morning lineup. We got more segments coming up for all of you. I'm on X at Timcast. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all in the next segment.